Hello everyone. Last section, we have talked about the women's wear in Wei Jing, Northern and Southern Dynasty. Now let's continue to learn the knowledge points of costume of Sui and Tang Dynasty. In the early Tang Dynasty, silk fabrics were certain in Dingzhou, Hebei province. After the Anshi Rebellion, the Yellow River Basin suffered great damage. The population was cut off and thousands of miles were depressed. However, every time there is a war in the north, a large number of people will migrate southward. Therefore, instead of being destroyed, the Yangtze River Basin has developed vigorously. Jiangdong's silk weaving industry has also developed significantly. The spun and silk in the Tang Dynasty are also widely used as currency among the people to replace the daily living expenses. The representative patterns on brocade fabrics in the Tang Dynasty include the first one, bead rattle pattern. This is the most representative brocade pattern in the Tang Dynasty. A circle of small circles, like beads, adorns the circumference of the grain, hence the name. Some people think that this kind of beaded pattern was influenced by the person sustaining pattern at that time. From the perspective of the development history of patterns, China has seen the budding of bead patterns in painted pottery direction in primitive times. Later, this kind of beaded pattern appeared on bronze wares of the Shang Dynasty, stone carving of the Six Dynasties, ceramics, and other directions. So, it is a kind of decorative pattern with long development in our country. Only in the Sui and Tang Dynasties, strong purser was also popular with this kind of conjoined bead pattern, so it gained wider popularity and greater development. The second is the Lingyang Gong pattern. Lingyang Gong pattern is a symmetrical pattern. This is another distinctive pattern of brocade patterns in the Tang Dynasty. In the early Tang Dynasty, Dou Shilun was sent to Sichuan to be in charge of the royal family's fabrics, and was later named Lingyang Gong. He can design patterns of silk fabrics, and is a pattern designer. The patterns of Ruijing and Gongling designed by him are mostly in symmetrical formats, so they are called Lingyang Gong pattern. Lingyang's special style can be seen in silk fabrics unearthed in northwest China and Tang Dynasty fabrics spread to Japan. The patterns of horse, lion, sheep, deer, and phoenix are broke through the traditional decoration style and absorbed foreign nutrition, which was full of originality. This kind of pattern mostly takes nest as the main body and is decorated with beaded patterns around. The center of the nest is decorated with various symmetrical animal patterns. Silk fabrics in the Tang Dynasty are not only ornate in decorative patterns, but also bright and lively in color. It's beyond the previous generation. We can get a lot of knowledge about color blending in the Tang Dynasty from women's dresses such as 国国夫人游春图, The Lady with Flowers, 簪花仕女图, and 捣练图, etc. People in Tang Dynasty developed 平绣 techniques. Due to the improvement of embroidery techniques, decorative embroidery has become rich and colorful. The representative pattern is embroidered 不得绣像. In addition, Princess Tongchang was married with a divan quilt embroidered with 3,000 mandarin ducks. During the period of Wu Zetian and Yang Guifei, there were not less than hundreds of women workers who embroidered for them in the harem. In the Tang Dynasty, Due to the mass production of silk fabrics, dyeing and banu also developed unprecedentedly. After the middle of Tang Dynasty, dyeing and banu became popular in the society. In the Tang Dynasty, the main printing and dyeing of clothing include 夹鞋, "蜡鞋," 脚鞋, rubbing, and acrylic printing. The first one is 夹鞋, means banu. 夹鞋 was very popular in the prosperous Tang Dynasty. It is a printing and dyeing product with white flowers at the bottom, which is made by using two plates with the same pattern carved, sandwiching the cloth and silk, coating with dye repellent, or dye a pattern on the engraved part of the plate. 夹鞋 also has 2 or 3 colors. 夹鞋's pattern is characterized by symmetrical patterns and beauty with balanced laws. During the Tang Dynasty, apart from being a woman's scarves or dress, 夹鞋 could also be used to make military uniforms and future decoration. Japan's Muscular Institute, 正仓院, has a collection of Tang Dynasty landscape screens, deer and grass screens, and stone screens with bird skills. Print and dye landscape, trees, birds, and animals on silk surface to make it an independently appreciated artwork. In the Tang Dynasty, there was also a printing method using a hollow version plus a mesh, which solved the difficulty of printing closed circles. This method was introduced to Japan during the Sui and Tang Dynasties. With the development of Southern Sea transportation, this printing technology spread to European countries in the 13th to 14th centuries. Wax dyeing, now called batik, 蜡染, is a method of dyeing fabrics with wax. First draw a pattern with wax, then dye it, and then boil off the wax to form white flower cloth with color at the bottom. Because wax has the characteristics of melting by heat and condensing by cold, it should have skilled skills in painting. If the wax is too hot, the lines will melt and the patterns will deform. If the wax is too cold, it will not flow easily and the pattern will be intermittent and irregular. As wax shrinks and is rubbed after condensation, it can produce many cracks. After dyeing, the pigment will penetrate into the cracks, and the patterns on the finished product will often produce irregular texture, forming a unique decorative effect. The second one is twist dyeing. Twist dyeing is a common printing and dyeing method among the people, which is tie dyeing now. This method is simple to make and can usually be divided into 2 types. One is to dye the cloth into various patterns with thread, and then dye it after being fastened. The pinned part cannot be dyed to form a white flower pattern with a halo effect. The other is to rub the grain to the fabric and then dye it to form various patterns. In the Tang Dynasty, apart from the real objects, there are also many painting, tricolor pottery sculptures, and murals in the contemporary era. In Zhang Xuan's 捣练图, several women's dresses belong to batik or clip dyeing. There are also several riders whose clothes are batik instead of embroidery in 国国夫人游春图. The skirt of a lady in the picture of a lady with a hairpin is also printed and dyed. The common speckles in the Tang tricolor paintings have something in common with the technical treatment of the genre at that time. According to History of Tang Dynasty records, the popular dress of women at that time was green and blue banu and flat hat with small flowers. Among the pottery figurines unearthed in various places of the Tang Dynasty. There are also female figurines wearing white, flowered blue-green background, which is the basic style of the Tang Dynasty's green-blue bandeau dress. From the Dunhuang frescoes, we can also find some image date on the clothing of Buddha and Bodhisattva. The story of sutra changes, and part of the clothing of the providers, as well as thin veils, screens, and curtains. In short, the organization of printing and dyeing patterns in Sui and Tang dynasties is basically the same as silk weaving. There are symmetry type, group nest type, scatter type, geometry type, etc., called Lin Yang Gong Yang. Apart from flowers and birds, there are also hunting patterns with traditional characteristics. All of these fully embody the rich artistic style. Okay, that's all the content of this course. The content of next course will be knowledge points of uniform of Sui and Tang dynasty. See you next course.